South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
South East Radio.
Welcome back to South East Radio's Business Matters with me, Karl Fitzpatrick. Well, my final guest this week, Wexford woman Siobhan Kinsella, is the President of Chambers Ireland, a powerful organisation which represents the interests of over 8,000 businesses across the Republic of Ireland. So Siobhan, how does it feel for you to hold such a powerful and influential position?
It's an incredible privilege and an incredible responsibility. And I think it's important to remember that 99% of the enterprises in this country relate to small to medium business, and over 80% of the employment is in small to medium business. So Chambers Ireland is pretty unique in that we represent all corners of Ireland and all sectors of the economy. So even when small to medium enterprise are too busy to engage or influence, it's really important that we do it on their behalf.
And of course, this morning on South East Radio's Business Matters, it's all about International Women's Day. What does this day mean for you?
It's a conflicting day for me. And the reason for that is International Women's Day was set up to empower and remember that women are not equal all over the world. And the logo of International Women's Day is an equal world is an enabled world. And it still bewilders me that there's different parts of the world that women aren't equal. And if you look at Ireland, sometimes I take it for granted because I'm grateful to be president and chairman of Ireland's largest, most diverse business organisation. And I also run a large company with a lot of diversity within it. So in terms of your interaction with me or any business person's interaction with me, I'm grateful to do a lot of complex things and I work very hard. But if you look back to 1922 and in the context of International Women's Day, prior to 1922, somebody had decided, I couldn't vote. Or in 1973, if I got married, I couldn't work. Or in 1993 or prior to 1993, I couldn't decide who to love, or in 2015 I couldn't decide who to marry. So I look at my position and what I've achieved as one of 5 girls and a boy in my family, and I look at the capability that's there, and it bewilders me that there was ever a point in time where there's a society in the world that doesn't recognise people based on their merit or excludes any gender or any ethnicity or anybody based on their sexuality. So it's a difficult one to get your head around that still exists, but yet you have to be grateful and even more cognizant of protecting the rights of all of the diverse people in our society, because that's what makes us profitable, that's what makes us diverse, that's what makes us interesting. And to me, it's really important to recognise it, but like everybody, it just bewilders me from a pragmatic perspective that anybody could exclude anybody's capability.
And Siobhan, in your opinion, how successful has International Women's Day been?
I think it has been very, very successful, and I think some people look at it and say, if it's International Women's Day, then men can't go to an event. I love it if I'm invited to attend or speak at an International Women's Day event. Any men that attend get a standing ovation, because if you're looking for gender equality, if you're looking for genuine diversity and inclusion, it is not a gender-specific role. You need champions across society, in people in all positions, to look at people based on their merit. And, in my business, in recruitment, we interview people on an ongoing basis. So ensuring that both male and female, every persuasion, every ethnicity, interview people and consider them based on their capability, not a conscious or unconscious bias, is vital to the success of my business and what I try and teach people to do.
Now, Siobhan, you are a very proud Wexford woman, of course, but I know one of the key ingredients to your success has been tenacity. Talk to us about that.
I think it's very, very important. Not only that I hire for attitude and I train for skill, but determination to succeed, to be accountable, to be the person who steps up, to be the person who takes responsibility, to be the person who undertakes the difficult tasks. That is something I work very hard to be, and I've always done. I don't shy away from difficult problems or difficult situations. And I work hard and I'm accountable, and I expect that of most people. But anybody I've ever seen succeed demonstrates the trait of tenacity. So it is actually one of my favourite words.
And let's say, for instance, if somebody hasn't got that on a natural basis, how can they go about developing it?
Well, I think an awful lot of people kind of misunderstand what employers are looking for or how to succeed. And an awful lot of the time, people hire for attitude and train for skill. And if you demonstrate enthusiasm and hunger, and you are open to being mentored, and you are open to an organisation that's driven, that expects hard work and hard results, but gives you the tools to enable your success, then if you choose your organisation correctly, it may be a little bit intimidating that it is a very successful organisation or that people work hard. That doesn't mean that work-life balance is compromised. That doesn't mean success is compromised. It means success is enabled. So by being in the company of people who are accountable, who accept responsibility, who step up, if you're exposed to that, it's quite likely that you will begin to learn those traits and behave in that fashion.
And Siobhan, in terms of successful women in business, who do you most admire?
I admire everybody from Dip Nicora, who owns TLC and Selsker, to Anne Herity, a former boss of mine, to Julie Cinnamon, to my own twin sister who unfortunately passed away, who had a PhD as well as being a consultant doctor. I have huge admiration to any woman I've ever come across who has worked and raised a child on their own. I think that it's not material success necessarily that I admire. I admire people who instill good moral courage in their children, or who behave in a way that when they put their head on their pillow at night, they know that they've harmed nobody, but maybe they've made somebody's day better or somebody's journey in life better.
As a director of Knoll Recruitment, what advice do you have for any aspiring female entrepreneurs?
I think that the old adage still rings true that women, if they can do 60% of what's on a job spec, will find 110 reasons why they can't take the job. And conversely, men will look at a job spec and say, I can do 80% of that or 60% of that. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. I'll take a chance on it. So if it's to take a chance on yourself, if it's to believe in yourself, if you ask people for help, it's really unlikely that they're going to say no. And most people genuinely want you to succeed if they see that you're driven. So there are supports out there. Educate yourself in terms of the support you can get to enable your success. Network with people. Talk to people. Ask for help in a pleasant and positive way. And generally, people do want you to succeed. But believe in yourself.
And staying with this role, what are you most proud of during your tenure as the President of Chambers Ireland?
I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity, and throughout my tenure, it's a 2-year tenure and it finishes in September this year, I've been able to make the presidency of Chambers Ireland and Chambers Ireland far more accessible to members around the country. So I'm a member of multiple chambers around the country myself, and it's very, very important that people understand what we do on a national, international and local level. So I've been privileged to be invited to attend different events in chambers throughout the country in that role, whether it's to impart advice on navigating the educational system or navigating supports for business, or the role that Chambers Ireland plays. And I was very grateful to be invited by New Ross Wexford and Gorey Chamber to assist in the development of County Wexford Chamber. It was only a small part I was able to play, but for me it's a privilege to look at the opportunities and the phenomenal potential in the Wexford economy, from placemaking, from retail, from hospitality, from foreign direct investment, and to bring some of the knowledge that I've gained in different parts of Ireland to the members in County Wexford.
And just on that, do you think that there's an opportunity for the County Wexford Chamber to liaise and to tap into the resources of the European and even the US Chamber network with a view to attracting jobs to Wexford?
I absolutely think that that's not only just an opportunity, but one that can be capitalised on very, very well. I've gone on trade missions when I was president of Fingal Dublin Chamber to Silicon Valley, where I found the Department of Foreign Affairs to be phenomenally supportive in terms of making introductions to and ensuring that the chamber members know how those decisions for foreign direct investment locations are made, and to give you an opportunity to meet the decision makers. So I've seen chambers of commerce go individually, I've seen them go as a joint venture, And I think that they're very, very well received.
As you're travelling around the country and visiting all of the chambers, what feedback are you receiving from them in relation to the current economic climate?
I think that every job that's sustained and every penny that's earned is hard earned. I think that navigating business is becoming more complex. So what we've asked for in terms of government and the manifestos is that people consider the small to medium enterprise when they're looking at legislation and legislative burdens, and that we look at how to enable talent in the workforce, how to upskill talent in the workforce, and to look at the complexity and the demands of running a small to medium business in Ireland, and that the supports are targeted and that they're easy to access. But predominantly in each of the different areas that I've had the opportunity to lobby myself specifically for with the Chambers Ireland policy teams is information campaigns. I mean, it's a terrible situation if a piece of legislation comes in and there's no information campaign about it. Business is working very, very hard keeping the cogs of this economy turning, keeping every single person that's in employment working, and people are stretched, it's more complex, it's more competitive, and ensuring that we don't have a burdensome bureaucratic environment where people can become, as employers, an unintended criminal or fall foul of a piece of legislation because it hasn't been appropriately kind of publicised is very, very important. A huge part of what we're asking for is people accommodate people and talent in every guise that it's available. So empowering people to work, whether they have a disability, whether it's enabling work, gender equality and work-friendly environments. It's very important that people start looking at what the capabilities are, what the supports are, and that they are filtered through to business in a way that's easy to access. But predominantly one of the biggest key drivers of allowing entrepreneurs and businesses to succeed is investment in infrastructure, and we have had a significant deficit of that. And the cheapest time to ever build a piece of infrastructure is today or yesterday. It's only ever going to get more expensive in the future, and that creates a context in which business can thrive. Even if you look at the recent opening of the Rose Kennedy Bridge, what was the Feared bypass in Ross, and you look at the uplift in retail activity and placemaking and economic spend as a result of a piece of infrastructure, and also the efficiencies that businesses are going to achieve going about their day because of the lack of congestion or an ability to use the bridge, and you mentioned people coming to visit it. You know, that's just one small, simple example of if the infrastructure is provided, business will enable the success itself.
And Siobhan, how worried are Chamber members across the country about the potential impact of the coronavirus?
I think people are being very, very pragmatic at the moment, and the key message, I suppose, that I'd like to convey is the business continuity planning guidelines for the Department of Jobs, Enterprise and Innovation. There's comprehensive guidance available there, and the guidance from the Department of Health and specifically the HSE, Dr. Tony Holohan and Paul Reid, it's very pragmatic and good advice to follow. So making sure that we have contingency plans available, that we are observing good hygiene and hand hygiene practices particularly are very, very important. But there is definitely an impact, and investment decisions, if this continues, will be deferred, and economic activity can be more depressed than it would otherwise be. But at the moment, we are very much in a containment phase. The plans of the Health and Safety Executive in terms of public health and the impact on society as a whole and on business has been very logical, very pragmatic, and it's being observed, and it's proportionate, and it's risk managed.
And Siobhan, on a practical level, what do you believe the government could do to protect businesses from the potential financial repercussions of the coronavirus? Recently,
the World Bank, thanks be to God, has announced up to 12 billion in immediate support for country responses to COVID-19, in particular the economic impact of it. But we have, and we're very lucky to have, quite an established infrastructure of government departments who have capability to reposition workers. So if you come across a sector that suffers from as a result of globalisation, we have the power, the funds and the authority distributed by SULIF to assess those skills, develop training to cross-skill people. But I think what we need to have in this country is a joined-up approach. We've gotten better over the last number of years, but we still have a further ways to go. So we're DEASP, formerly known as social welfare. They work really, really effectively with, say, WWETB, which is Wexford Waterford Education Training Board. If you look at SOLAS and how those things are funded, there is an opportunity to more efficiently use the mechanisms of government to enable business and also to sustain and protect employment. That's very, very important. But I would like to see significant focus on development of the Irish tourist industry, particularly with the opportunity for staycations at the moment.
And Siobhan, finally, after your tenure as President of Chambers Ireland ends in September, what is next for Siobhan Kinsella?
That's a fantastic question. People tend to ask me how I have time to do the many different things that I do, and my answer is quite generally, it keeps me out of trouble. And if you want something done, ask a busy person. But I will say I went back to education at 34 to do my MBA, and it was a very, very enjoyable experience for me. So I've recently had the privilege of participating in some academic endeavour in validating the world's first degree in recruitment, which is going to be an apprenticeship programme. And I was involved with the National College of Ireland and the National Recruitment Federation in its development. And there's an opportunity, I think, to develop workplace mentorships in Ireland, because one of the things that we do have a deficit in, particularly in small to medium enterprise, is who's training the new people coming in and how are they trained to do it, and how are we developing that next level of management, and particularly the earn as you learn model. So I think there's some opportunities there that I'd like to engage in, maybe in an academic and practical way.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Siobhan Kinsella, the President of Chambers Ireland, and I would like to thank Siobhan for sharing her insights with us this morning.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
South